Okay. Following. Interesting.
Christopher Nolan.
Christopher Nolan, first feature film.
No budget.
$6,000 budget. Box office $126,000. So did okay.
All right. Well, I didn't think it was released in theaters, so better than I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how those figures came to be or how it was released. Probably should have looked more into it. Just looked at the numbers and moved on. If you had to guess, what would you say the critics gave this movie on old Rotten Tomatoes?
I mean, it was 98.
Yep. First film,
it
like
seemed
independent.
like an indie movie.
Yeah, 6,000 seemed like an independent movie. Yeah, for sure.
Out of 100, 70 to 75.
83%. Now,
all right, okay.
I don't know how much of that is, just kind of looking back with 2020 vision. Like, this guy's going to be great,
Oppenheimer's was fucking sick, and now I'm going to watch all of his shit.
And you're like, anyway, what would you say the audience said about it?
I think the audience was lower. I thought this was a heady film, so I think the audience was lower in like the 60s or 50s.
85.
Holy shit.
No,
okay.
Right. Two positive.
No, just kidding.
Two positive comments, or reviews, whatever. Following is an imperfect but nonetheless brainy existential take on film noir, which seems even more impressive considering its limited budget. As with most of Nolan's intricate, challenging films, Following turns out to be far more than the sum of its parts. And then to negative. For all the deadpan delivery of a committed cast, this is ultimately a misfire, but a fascinating and unusual one nonetheless. So even the negative ones are kind of like, well, I mean, he's like trying. Entertaining, but material doesn't develop the full edgy potential that similar paranoid triangle efforts realize. Okay. I wrote these down, so there's a word missing in there somewhere. So we'll move on from that one.
That's fine. Totally fine.
What'd you like? What'd you not like?
I liked the story. It seemed like a 2-part story to like fast forward, which it was like the young man writer and his storyline, and then the very end to tie it all in when Cobb kills the blonde. He was like, I was working for the old man the whole time. Mm-hmm. Like, he said, you've been hiding some fucking rug with blood all over it, and like then kills her, and then like it has the Memento vibe of like a pre-Memento, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, okay, cool.
Without the mystery to it.
Yeah. It also had like the cut in and out. So one thing I did see was like Nolan breaks up the film into 3 parts, and you can tell the 3 parts with the main character and his appearance.
Bill,
yeah. Or Daniel, his fake name.
D. Lloyd.
His stolen name. To where it's like he's greasy and gruffy, and then he cuts his hair and shaves and wears a suit, and then it's like he gets his face beat in.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I did feel like it was a lot of deadpan, like shitty acting. I thought Cobb was probably the best acting in it. The main character's acting was terrible. Like him, like at the very end, he's basically like, what'd you do to me? I figured you out. And he he walks into the blonde's house and just like, just like, okay. She says nothing about it.
I told you not to open the envelope.
Yeah.
As if she's like, yeah, well deserved, but I told you not to open it.
Yeah. I told you no. I mean, it was fine.
Yeah.
The black and white, like, it was cool because there's not a lot of black and white movies that I watch currently. So that was neat. Story was good, but it was an indie film from the 90s. Yeah.
I mean, I looked it up. I guess black and white film's cheaper, so I think that was kind of the aim on that one. I don't think it was like hey, let's be cool.
They didn't have iPhones then.
Right, yeah, I mean, the cheapest way to make a movie now was with an iPhone. Back then, it was to use black and white film. Yeah. More or less. One thing I can say is very original. Like, I like a crime-based thing. I like some sort of shady thing going on. So I like that. I feel like the story being out of order was not even so much a strategy as a like it needed an element of this is not just a linear story.
Yeah.
Because of the low budget, because, the killings,
if it was linear, it'd be boring as hell.
Right, unless you had the budget to like make it visually appealing to, develop the story a little more, just more time, really, to develop. Why do we give a fuck who Bill is, who's Cobb, and then we don't even give the girl a name, the blonde, right? So I think that was a tool just to kind of mix it up. It needed something, needed some juice, but I do like it. What was the other thing? If I had to say like things I didn't like, obviously, like you said, bad acting. It's almost like if you just chose some different people, probably.
Yeah.
Because or maybe I don't know if he went for deadpan. Although I don't know. I've never been to England. I don't know many English people, but is that kind of just how they are? Are they just sort of?
My brain went to Memento, Guy Ritchie, Snatch. It felt like a black and white Snatch. It felt like a black and white Lock, Stock, and Barrel. It felt like this. So then I started thinking the same shit. I was like, is this just an English thing? Like, maybe. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. But I don't know.
But then you watch The Gentleman. Those guys seem to have some personality. So, I mean, Granted McConaughey's in that movie, so there's that.
That's the whole movie. Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, hey, gentlemen. All right. I liked... So, film noir, even though we both figure it was like black and white was done because it was cheaper, they still had like the noir shots of like contrasting black and white. The blonde, Cobb's suits were darker, so you would just assume they're black. The femme fatale was always a role with film noir of like a blonde that is hot, that gets you in trouble, that makes you do stupid things, like that type of thing. I thought she played that really well. The other thing that was funny that I thought was he kept saying in the beginning when Cobb's like going through with Bill and like rummaging through this person's shit is like basically like you take everything away from them to show them what they have.
Yeah.
And then they have to like when they're talking to the insurance adjuster essentially like, oh, I do have a lot of shit. Oh, is it personal? Like all that. Well, then like it gets flipped on its head at the very end when he's talking to the cop, when Bill's talking to the cop, and you like I just had that thought of just like, oh, Cobb did it to him. Mm-hmm. And like without even like stealing his shit, essentially he just stole his life, kind of, I guess.
His life, privacy, like all of that, you know, just all fits in. Yeah. The one thing I did like, I kind of mentioned soundtrack, but I didn't go into it. I know the budget was low, but can we get like a second song? Can we compose one? I don't know, that same thing every time something happened. Mm-hmm. It just feels hypocritical almost for me because I love the way Halloween does it, where it's pretty much the same sound every time. But this was just so.
But that movie was good.
Well, but like it was so fitting, mm-hmm. and like just aesthetically that sound was like uncomfortable. And maybe that's kind of the I hate to like take points off for it. Not that we're grading it, but I hate to like say that's a bad thing because maybe that's just the intention is this should make you feel uncomfortable. That's the whole point. So, but if I do one more thing, don't you think this plan was like a little convenient?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, hey, we need to frame a guy. Hey, this guy's following me. You think we could like ruin his life?
It was just like, hey, he's white. I'm white.
Yeah.
I wonder what he looks like if he just cuts his hair. Do you think he could look
similar build, huh?
Yeah.
Like you think we get him a suit? I don't know. Just like everything was so convenient. If you're gonna be a cunt about it, just like everything just lined up one after the other.
That and then him like, there's an old lady. Like, oh, she's dead. What about the old lady? He's like, what old lady? We haven't had any old lady missing.
Yeah.
And he's just like, but the girl that you were in love with, that you burgled her house, was found dead this morning. And he's like, what do you mean? No. It was Cobb.
Yeah.
Like, who is Cobb? And at the very end, fading and just gone.
I love the part, on the bad acting part. Just the, this is like, are you killed her? And you're like, I didn't touch her!
Yeah.
And that's just the whole,
Mark.
his face is kind of disturbed, but
Yeah.
Oh,
man. It was just bad. When they're on the rooftop, he's getting beat up. I just felt like it was just the shittiest,
yeah.
Oh, pick up a piece of firewood, clunk, and you're just like, ah.
The headbutt was probably the only
Believable,
kind of decent thing up there. Yeah.
Everything else was terrible.
Yeah. Bad trailer. If you didn't do any of these, that's fine. We could frame it as a guy, Bill, who's trying to test the waters for coming out of the closet, but people keep rejecting him, and obviously we can make strategic cuts that he kind of wants to get with Cobb, but Cobb's constantly bullying him.
With that said, they're in the diner or wherever they're eating first, and he confronts him.
Yeah,
he's like, "What are you, fag?" And it's it just cuts right there.
Yeah.
There,
perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, no shortage of scenes of Cobb shaking the beer, giving it to him, or tell him he's gonna make a twat of himself in the restaurant.
Mm-hmm. She looked at me.
Having him talking about the loser's apartment that they're in. And then finally he just snaps and he kills that guy with the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he thought it was
I am
a
gay.
dude. Yeah. So I thought that'd be decent. Or did you have anything?
The only thing I could think of is some type of fucked up therapy or something around a therapist where Cobb is a therapist and he takes his clients out to do terrible shit, and he's like, look, you got it. Look, I know your problems.
Look at you.
We gotta get you
Self-esteem building class.
Yeah, and he's like, look, all we do is we take you out, we show you other people's shit,
yeah,
and we take it, and you feel better about yourself. Or it's and then he's going through, he's you got to think differently about it. You take their stuff, and then they think, and then they rethink. So really, you're helping them. So just take their shit.
It's therapy for them.
Yeah. He's just a terrible person, but he makes so much sense.
For bad summary, I said it was Memento with more memory and less color.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Which is actually somewhat of a good summary, but
Yeah, no, that's
fine.
Actually that's not bad at all.
But I probably could add in more memory, less color, worse acting. But either way.
Yeah, all that hits.
Do you have one?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Bad casting. With this being independent,
I thought it was already casted bad.
It was already casted bad, correct.
Yeah.
But to make it worse, I feel with this being a small indie, it would just look hilarious to blow it out with just huge names.
The Rock.
Well, try to pick 98 movies. I don't know. I didn't see if The Rock was in anything in 98. But Ben Stiller was in a serious-looking movie, by the way, called Zero Effect, which I'm now curious about.
Never heard of it.
But I'll go ahead and throw Ben Stiller in there as Bill.
All right.
And then we'll make Cobb Bruce Willis. He was in Mercury Rising that year.
Okay.
And let's make Patrick Swayze the bald guy.
Okay.
And then
who's your blonde?
Meryl Streep.
Okay. This budget just rose $150 million.
And the acting might be better, but it'll also just be whoa, hey.
Shitty.
What's going on?
Yeah. It'd still be bad. I just don't. I mean, I kept thinking it reminded me of Trainspotting and Snatch and Lock, Stock and all that.
But bad.
But bad, yeah. It was gritty 90s indie. It just felt dirty. And I couldn't stop picturing Ewan McGregor or like bits of like Donnie Darko
Sure.
and shit like that. So I was just like, maybe the only thing I was like picturing was like Ewan McGregor as Cobb, and then what's his face in Donnie Darko?
Jake Gyllenhaal?
Gyllenhaal as like Bill, and like those two kind of feeding off each other. And then I couldn't think of a blonde to like shove in there that would do worse or better, I guess.
Yeah.
So you just like leave her in because she's a nobody anyway.
Right.
And like maybe they elevate her, maybe they don't. Who knows?
Sure. I feel like it was a better story than it was casted.
Yes.
And I feel like with more money, more time, better actors, it's a fine movie.
So do you think if it was his like fourth or fifth movie, it would have been... Well, it probably would have been like hour and a half to 2 hours.
People would talk about it.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we're talking about it, but
Yeah.
who are we?
Who am I?
Who am I?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like being his first movie, it's really short. It's like an hour and 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, the story was good, but it just meh.
It was a fine movie. I just never want to watch it again.
True. All right. Yeah.
Are you impressed with how dumb our characters are? Like, this murder she's being told happened, and it turns out it's not happening. Like, if there was an old lady, like, tortured to death, beaten, tortured beyond recognition in an apartment in town, you think it might make the news? Or I don't know. Like, just...
I feel like the fact that he was like...
I mean, murders are on the news, typically.
Yeah,
you know
but the
what I
other
mean?
part is
But
like, it happened days ago or like a week ago, and no one has said shit. And like, she's just like, there's a dead woman in an apartment somewhere.
Yeah.
And you're gonna go talk about it. And like, nonchalant, like, no, like, this is... People don't act this way about like gruesome, terrible fucking things.
Yeah.
I don't know. The whole twist with that of like, there is no old woman murdered. It's just like, oh, fuck.
Well, like, also on her part, like, how long could she really have been with Cobb? Like, as far as a relationship goes?
Like 2 hours before we saw the opening
Right?
scene of this movie.
Maybe
like,
a day.
No way.
Maybe
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah.
And then she's just like, yeah, no, you can rob my house with this
Yeah.
guy. It's like, how is the
My underwear.
trust? Yeah. How's the trust built? Like, how's the, and then, I don't know. It's just, this girl just might be easier than, she is dumb, I guess. Maybe that's the whole thing.
They were married.
And then you got Bill over here, like, who's probably just, I don't know if he's dumb or just dumb socially. He's like probably just like never had a girlfriend, never like had friends in general. And it's just like, oh, this is just how a social life works. Like, you meet a girl and then she's just like, yeah, fuck me.
Dude,
and
he
it's
was
just
so
like
awkward. And then he like gets to the part where she's sitting at the bar and he goes over and talks to her, and she like blows him off.
But he's got like game at the same
And
time.
he keeps trying. And I'm like, anyone that's a loner, that's like greasy, unkempt writer, like very introspective, would not have kept trying. I'm like, and like, it's not like he had like 6 or 7 beers. Like, he got a beer, took like 3 drinks, and went, "Oh, girl, I'm gonna go talk to her."
People I'm not trying to have sex with, I give up after like, leave me alone, loser. Yeah, no, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah. I have people to go. Yeah.
No, there's something in my room. It's on fire. I gotta leave. Like, what? What do you think day to day was like for Bill before he became a writer?
Dude, he worked at a supermarket. He did something so like nothing.
Yeah.
And like he was in between jobs. It was like he had to do nothing. He was a busboy. He was, and like he seems like in his 30s. I mean, I don't know, but he like seemed like late 20s, 30s, whatever. And you're like, okay, well, he's in a nowhere career. He wants to write, so he starts following these people, and he's telling like, how does he like? That was the other thing that crossed my mind. Like, how the fuck is he paying for his apartment? How's he paying for like food? How's he paying for that beer he drank?
Right.
Like all those things, and I'm just like, he never once does anything except learn to burgle, and then burgle a couple houses.
Burgle is the most phenomenal word ever. Like a
cat burgle.
I just.
But it was so weird. And then, dude, how he like took all that dirty money and just taped it to himself in random places was also creepy and weird.
Yeah.
And it was so dumb. But
he's just making the best of his environment.
But that's the thing, like that's his character. So he did it.
He's just
succeeded.
He's a roach. Survives anywhere.
Yeah.
He'll survive jail. He'll be all right. He'll suck them dicks right in. He'll be all right.
Diddy.
Hashtag Diddy. I don't know. I thought maybe, granted, he doesn't seem the type, but I thought maybe he was a banker before, and that's why he was like trying to float that story to Cobb. When he was saying like, what kind of person lives here? And like, no, this guy's unemployed. And like maybe, I don't know. There's like a whole backstory you could probably like theorize on Bill.
Yeah.
You know, and spend an hour jerking off on that, but we're not going to do that. But
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting the thought of maybe he was some sort of like banker. Maybe that's why he does have the like a bit of suaveness when he goes and tries to talk to the blonde, and then but now he's doing this writing thing, and he's kind of falling on hard times. He's unemployed, whatever. I don't know. It's just a theory, or he's just a career loser on welfare. And
does England have welfare?
I don't know. I'm not going to dive into the welfare politics of England right now.
He's lower.
My favorite, like, low-key hilarious line in this movie is he sits down in the diner when he follows Cobb, and he's like, black coffee. And she's like, come on, it's lunch. And he's like, toasted cheese sandwich. Like, he wasn't going to have anything. He's like, come on, it's lunch. I'm like,
yeah.
All right, give me toasted cheese.
I thought, so he makes Cobb leave that lunch when they see that girl, which that's the other thing. I'm just like, did Cobb know all of these people? And like that just like perfectly sets the story for everything? Or
if there were any coincidences in this story, it was that one.
So when he makes Cobb leave, Cobb like turns as they get out and he goes, I like to finish my meals with coffee.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't say it. And then just kept going. I was just like, all right. Like I started cracking up to that.
Yeah.
He's just like, no, we're staying for dessert.
It was so father, like, just, reprimanding the little kid. And there was,
Fine, we can leave.
Well, and just how he just became a kid.
Yeah.
Immediately. When he's like, I really think we should leave. Yeah. Like his like voice trembled and everything.
She looked at me twice. Shut up. Was she with the same guy? No. Then we're fine.
We're good. She can't say shit.
I'm so scared. I'm so scared right now.
I really think we should go. Keeping in mind you can't raise the budget.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you would do differently to like boost this? My one thing I had was when they killed the guy in her apartment. Just the scream, just down volume wise.
Yeah.
Because it was too much, and it was like very obvious that it was like inserted.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it, you don't have the money for stunts and all that kind of shit, but like, I almost think there's a and just like, black and then continue telling the story type of deal.
That, or you could have just shown, because it's a noir thing, like a shadow on a wall.
Great. Would have been great.
Or just like had that plus, like you said, like, or like some type of like note just played. Instead of a scream, it's just a single note played out.
You almost go like Psycho.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't know. Like, there wasn't anything I could pinpoint that was like, you know what? This one thing would make this 5% better on Rotten Tomatoes or anything like that.
Sure.
It is what it is. Like we said, it's a first movie. It's a low budget. It's a good story. I'm not going to go out and watch it again. YouTube with ads.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he did a great job working with what he had, and I won't watch it again. That's all I got.
I'm done.
All right, great. Well,
Tune in next time.
thanks for watching and listening. We'll get some more Nolan soon.
Christopher Nolan time.
That's definitely staying.